Nestled in the Sangre de Cristo Mountains of the American Southwest, Las Vegas, New Mexico boasts a wild and rich history as a historic crossroads through the beautiful mountain passes for indigenous peoples, Spanish conquistadors, cowboys, and railroads. In recent years, with climbing heat records, this region has experienced the worst wildfires the state has ever seen, putting its residents, their livelihoods, and the region's many historic structures in danger.
New Mexico, like a lot of places in the western U.S., is undergoing some dramatic climatic changes. So we have very long, extended drying periods. We have unpredictable monsoon seasons, and then there are long periods of dry out in between. And then in the spring and summer of 2022, we had the largest fire here in New Mexico called the Hermit's Peak Calf Canyon Fire. It burned over 340,000 acres. It affected about 4 watersheds, and so it really devastated many communities here.
With a change in our climate, we've seen a major shift from a lot of wet years to a lot of dry years and successive drought years. We had a large overgrowth of timber and underbrush, which made for tinderbox conditions. At the onset of the fire, we had the National Forest Service doing what they called a controlled burn, trying to control some of that underbrush, and they did it on one of the windiest days that we had. They started with 60-mile-an-hour winds, and they started a fire that got out of control. It burned in the period of about 3 months. They burned approximately 625 square miles.
Firefighting came from both federal and state agencies. So here locally we have the New Mexico State Forestry. They have a firefighting crew. Of course, we also have a lot of volunteer firefighters. In each of these communities, there's a volunteer firefighter station, so really local community members were involved as well. Law enforcement, city and state, and we also got a lot of input nationally because this was such a devastating fire. Resources were called in from all over the country. So really, at the end of the day, a fire like this, I don't know that any resources in any country would have been sufficient.
With record temperatures on the rise and having gone through the most devastating wildfire in New Mexico's history, Luna Community College in Las Vegas, New Mexico, is taking action by implementing specialized course programs and a wildfire resiliency training center to increase the workforce needed to support recovery, mitigation, and planning for communities impacted by natural disasters.
The Hermit's Peak Calf Canyon fire devastated the 2 counties that primarily serve Luna Community College in terms of student enrollment. A lot of the families that live in these rural areas are land-based communities. And so one of the things that we developed out of this devastation was the idea to create the Wildfire Resiliency Training Center, where we will offer certificate programs in forest management and restoration. And so the idea was, how can we reskill these individuals that may have lost their livelihood and keep them in the area?
The purpose of the training center is to really provide alternative means of livelihoods and to keep people connected to this altered landscape so that they can contribute to its recovery. And recovery of this landscape is going to take decades. All the trainings are place-based right here in the burn scar, so that way we're actually contributing towards recovery on the ground. We are going to address pre-fire, during a fire, and post-fire, the health of the forest, what happens during the incident, and what happens in recovery. There's mitigation practices that we need to really resource as well. We have built structures to address a head cut using burned log. Trees have died from the fire. There's not a whole lot of use for them, and we can utilize that material to mitigate erosion control. We also use rocks to build some grade control structures because so much water flows after a fire to stem that erosion, to keep and hang on to the soil that is very easily lost during this time. Some of the jobs that we hope we can create through the Wildfire Resiliency Training Center includes obviously more wildland firefighters and structural firefighters, as well as firefighters in leadership positions. We also have restoration ecologists and practitioners, so the folks who are actually doing the work on the ground, sawyers, and heavy equipment operators as well.
Another exciting option that we have in addition to the Wildfire Resiliency Training Center is the Heritage Trades Academy. Las Vegas, New Mexico is home to, I believe, over 900 homes that are on the National Registry. The forest fire that occurred in 2022 also burned some cultural buildings in the counties that were mostly devastated by the fire, and some of them need restoration. And so therefore it'll also instill some sort of pride, I believe, into the area, because northern New Mexico does have a rich history. Luna Community College is the only two-year institution in northern New Mexico. It has the most affordable tuition rates in the state and in the Southwest. The mission of Luna Community College is to provide accessible, innovative, and experiential learning opportunities regardless of racial background, economic status, or educational preparation. The Wildfire Resiliency Training Center will provide the training needed for individuals that are interested in those areas or those career pathways.
For more information on career opportunities in northeastern New Mexico, visit luna.edu.